Art is not just a hobby, but a passion that has driven some of the greatest painters in the world to create masterpieces that have sold for millions of dollars. In this video, we'll be exploring the top 10 most expensive paintings ever sold by living artists. From Ed Ruscha's mesmerizing pop art to Gerhard Richter's stunning abstract works, these paintings are not only aesthetically impressive, but also represent a significant investment for those fortunate enough to own them. Now sit back, relax, and let's dive into the fascinating world of contemporary art. Painting number 1. Interchange by Willem Kooning. Interchange, commonly referred to as Interchanged, it's an oil painting on canvas by Dutch-American abstract expressionist Willem Kooning. In 1955, who lived from 1904 to 1997, abstract expressionism was the first contemporary art trend in the United States, and both de Kooning and Jackson Pollock were pioneers in the field. This piece of art showed how de Kooning's abstract painting went from focusing on women to focusing on cityscapes. It shows how, after being influenced by artists like Franz Kline, de Kooning moved away from harsh brushstrokes and toward quick, expressive lines. In the middle of the image is a pinkish mass, which represents a sitting lady. It is said that Willem de Kooning sold it in 1955 for $4,000. Then, the David Geffen Foundation sold it to Kenneth C. Griffin in September 2015 for $300 million, making it the most expensive artwork ever sold at that time. It is currently the second most expensive painting on the market, trailing only Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, which sold for $450.3 million in November 2017. Painting number 2, Masterpiece by Roy Lichtenstein. Masterpiece was produced by American pop artist Roy Lichtenstein in 1962 and depicts a blonde lady conversing with her lover Brad, a heroic figure Lichtenstein used in a number of his works. Using a thinking bubble, a staple of comic book art, Lichtenstein narrates the interaction between the two figures in the painting. He used a printing technique called bin des dots, which involved placing tiny colored dots onto a canvas, either tightly together, far apart, or overlapping one another. The dots are produced using the CMYK color model, which has just 4 ink plates: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. After years of displaying the painting masterpiece on the mantle of her Upper East Side apartment, Agnes Gunn sold it to Stephen A. Cohen in January 2017 for $165 million. Painting number 3, Flag by Jasper Johns. Jasper Johns made over 40 versions of his American flag. The artwork was completed in 1958 and was so treasured by the dealer that he never sold it. In 2010, American hedge fund investor Stephen A. Cohen acquired this 1958 work for his collection. Cohen purchased flag from the son of Leo Castelli, the art dealer for Jasper Johns. The transaction between Cohen and Castelli was strictly confidential, but art specialists familiar with the specifics say Cohen paid around $110 million for the piece. Painting number 4, Portrait of an Artist, Pool with Two Figures by David Hockney. David Hockney, a British artist, created this pop art masterpiece, Portrait of an Artist, Pool with Two Figures, in May 1972. It is a big, acrylic, on-canvas painting that depicts a pool with two figures. The painting, which is 2.1 meters by 3.0 meters, features a man in clothing staring down at another man swimming underwater. Hackney used 2 of his recurring themes from the late 1960s and early 1970s, the swimming pool and the twin portrait. Peter Schlinger, a painter and Hackney's ex-lover and muse, is seen standing fully clothed by the pool and looking down at a man in white trunks doing breaststroke underwater. In 1972, James Astor and his wife paid $18,000 to purchase the picture. After many hands, on November 15th, 2018, at Kirstie's auction house in New York City, it was sold to an undisclosed bidder for $90.3 million, establishing a record for an auction price paid for a work by a living artist. Painting number 5, False Start by Jasper Johns. Jasper Johns' painting False Start is another one of his works that was sold at a high price. False Start was painted in 1959 as a color lithograph that features flashes of red, blue, yellow, orange, and gray on a sheet of paper that is 445 millimeters by 350 millimeters. The titles of the pigments are stretched on top in various hues. Yellow, for instance, is painted in blue, white and red, and so on. An apparently easy technique that prompts the observer to interact with the picture more deeply on a semiotic level is the conflict between the visual and the verbal, the hue and its descriptive term. In 2006, the painting was sold at Sotheby's auction in New York for $80 million, making it at the time the most expensive work by a living artist ever sold at auction. The buyer was identified as Kenneth Griffin, a billionaire hedge fund manager and art collector. False Start is widely regarded as one of John's most significant works, and it has been exhibited in major museums and galleries around the world. The painting is seen as a key example of the artist's exploration of American iconography and the boundaries between art and everyday life. Painting number 6, Abstraktes Bild, 599 by Gerhard Richter. While Gerhard Richter was looking for a new technique to make abstractions in 1986, he stumbled across a method that would change his life. The German artist would drag, smear, and scrape layers of wet paint over the canvas, using a cleaning squeegee instead of a paintbrush. According to him, a brush gives you control. While using a brush, you can leave your mark, but when using a squeegee, you can't. Richter's squeegee paintings, which are part of the artist's most recognizable series, have been sold for record prices at auction. The squeegee painting Abstraktes Bild, 599, 1987 by Richter, sold at auction in 2015 for almost $46 million including fees, making him the most expensive living European artist. Number 7. Hurting the World Radio Number 2 by Ed Ruscha. Hurting the World Number 2 by Ed Ruscha was sold at Christie's auction in 2019 for $52.5 million, making it one of the most expensive works by the artist ever sold at auction. The sale also set a record for the artist's work, surpassing the previous record of $30.4 million set in 2014 for his painting Smash. It was painted in 1964 and is part of his iconic World Paintings series, which consists of paintings featuring words and phrases in a bold, graphic style. This one features the word radio, written in bold letters against a deep blue, monochromatic background. The phrase itself has been interpreted in various ways, but many see it as a commentary on mass media and imagery of American popular culture. Ruscha is widely regarded as one of the most influential artists of his generation, and his work has been exhibited in major museums and galleries around the world. Painting number 8, Swamped by Peter Doge. Peter Doge's serene, fantastical paintings feature kaleidoscope landscapes punctured by enigmatic, partially obscured figures. Doge frequently draws inspiration from his own memories of childhood in Canada. The blurred, ethereal quality of his canvases reflects the vagaries of time and recollection. His settings have ranged from calm oceans to deep forests, and canoes served as a frequent motif. Swamped is a large-scale painting by Scottish painter Peter Doge, created in 1990. The painting measures 7 feet by 10 feet and depicts a dreamlike swampy landscape with murky green water, twisted trees, and a boat in the foreground. The painting is noted for its haunting otherworldly atmosphere and has been praised for its use of color and texture. It was actually sold for $39 million in 2021 at Christie's auction, making it one of the most expensive works by a living artist ever sold at auction at that time. The buyer of the painting has remained anonymous. Number 9. The Splash by David Hackney. David Hackney, a British pop art painter, created The Splash in 1966. It describes how the dive of an ethereal person has disrupted a swimming pool next to a pavilion. Acrylic was used to create this piece, which measures 180 centimeters on the side and has the artist's signature and the year 1966 on the back. There are 3 paintings by Hackney from 1966 and 1967 that depict quite similar settings, the second of which is Splash. Hackney's Diver shows the brief instant when a diver enters the water of a swimming pool from a diving board, kicking up white spray, using abstracted foams of flat color with sharply defined edges in the center of a big canvas with an unprimed border. Hackney enjoyed spending weeks carefully painting the densely woven spray with tiny brushes, capturing the dramatic level of detail of an event that had only lasted a minute. The square shape and lack of painted border give the image the look of a Polaroid. By February 2020, it had been offered for sale by Hong Kong typhoon Joseph Lau at Sotheby's in London, where it was purchased by an anonymous bidder for $29.9 million, making it the third highest price ever paid at auction for a Hackney. Painting number 10, Untitled, Riot by Christopher Wool. Untitled, Riot is Christopher Wool's most costly artwork. Wool created his first word painting in 1987. A white vehicle with the words sex and love spray painted on the side caught his eye as he strolled through New York's Lower East Side. As soon as he saw the stark contrast between the black letters and the white backdrop, an idea sprung to him, and he went straight to work painting his own version. These word paintings by Wool are his best-known works at this point. Untitled, Riot, Wool's most expensive auctioned artwork, fetched $29.9 million at Sotheby's in New York on May 12, 2015, well above the low estimate of $12 million. That's all for today's video, guys. Which painting do you like most? Tell us your views in the comments section. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. See you in the next video, and until then, best wishes.